What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Thinktwice, a weekly show where we talk about things going on over the world of Magic the Gathering, gaming, and pop culture. For episode 32, I'm your host, Justin Parnell, joined by my co-host, Ali Aintrazi, and this week we're going to be talking about Ali's new brew in Standard, what our guesses are for the Magic story going forward, and the Black Panther movie. So, Ali, this is normally the part of the show, 3 seconds in, when I ask you what you did last week. But since your answer is so interesting, we devoted an entire segment to it, which we will get to in just a minute.
So basically, what I did last week is going to be saved entirely for the next segment.
That's right. Don't speak of it. Don't speak of it.
Okay.
But I do know something else you did last week.
I did use the restroom. That is right.
Okay.
Yep. I ate.
Yes.
I slept.
Okay. I was going to say something else that I know you did for sure.
I lost the question of the week.
You lost the question of the week. Yes, that's right. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I know, because that's where you go. That's where your mind first goes.
Well, it's been tough because we've been so even recently with our question of the week.
It's true.
Question of the week last week. Will Jace the Mind Sculptor ever be banned again in Modern? Ali, of course, you took the position of no, foolishly. 26% of people agree with you, and of course the exact inverse of that, 62% of people agreed with me that Jace will indeed at some point be put back into the corner and not allowed to be played with in Modern.
They're wrong. They're so wrong.
Well, I mean, you know what? As it stands right now, here's how I look at it. You're right today because you can play with Jace. I think someday in the future I will be right, but until then you will remain correct that Jace.
Who knows? Maybe after I'm dead, you'll be right.
Maybe after you're dead.
Yeah, maybe after I'm dead, maybe then you'll be right.
They'll probably wait for that. They'll be like, all right.
Ali has passed away.
At the ripe age of 93. Modern is still
93?
A format.
That's it? We haven't discovered immortality by then?
Well.
Listen, man, I want to upload my brain to the servers, then be reborn in a robot.
A robot? So you're picking... So we've discovered immortality, but you're choosing a robot.
Well, I'm saying immortality isn't carry your brain waves or whatever. Because I can't inhibit another human being. That's just that's not kosher.
Have you watched any of the Netflix show Altered Carbon?
A little bit.
So what if it's like that? Where it's just they call bodies sleeves and they're just take them, leave them, whatever. They're just whatever.
I put my deck in sleeves. That's kind of weird to think about.
No, but they put people in sleeves. And
I know.
Their sleeves are humans.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They dispose of sleeves the same way we dispose of sleeves. Just throw them in the trash.
They do literally just throw them away. They rip them apart in case one breaks. They tear it so nobody picks it up and tries to use it.
Anyways, this is... We are getting way off topic here.
I don't know. I think we're directly on topic. I think we're directly on topic.
Anyways, I just want to live forever. Or for a long time. A lot longer than 93 years.
All right, well, that seems a little greedy to me. That seems like a pretty good life. I would like to make it to 100. Just, 100.
Who's the black-aligned person now?
What?
Black must live forever.
That's not true.
Okay, well, Zero wants to live forever.
Who has ever said that black-aligned characters want to live forever? I don't think that's accurate at all.
They more so do than any other character, I'd imagine.
I think you're just making stuff up. You're just saying things because you like how they sound, and I don't think that they're true. I don't think you're putting that on Black. You're saying what you're trying to say is black-line characters are selfish, and I think that they're unfairly painted.
Okay, well, I'm like Zero the Enchanter in that regard.
You're a crazy old man that wears no shoes,
and that wants to live forever.
He's just crazy.
That's what he's doing. He will literally do anything to figure out immortality.
Yeah, he wants to wear that Steel to Godhead. Every time I see Zer, he's wearing that Steel to Godhead.
Steel to Godhead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's too much Commander. I'm talking about his lore, man. His lore. His story.
Yeah,
his background.
too. The lore of Zer. He wants to wear the Steel to Godhead.
The Steel to Godhead? That is not true.
What does he want to do?
He wants to live forever.
Like a god?
Like the Zern Orb. Zern Orb gives you life by sacrificing lands.
But you have to sacrifice stuff to do that.
Yeah, I'll just sacrifice, No. I was going to say I'll sacrifice... Never mind.
Now who's getting off topic? I think we're ready to go into our first segment.
Yep.
So Ollie, you played a spicy brew in the Standard Classic at SCG Indianapolis last week. And
I did.
You narrowly lost the tournament. You ended up getting third place. So
I did.
We have a lot of new people that I imagine are listening to the podcast just for this. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, I'm going to grill Ollie on his brand new deck. Third place. That's pretty good.
Third place, yes. So close, so close.
So close. Very close.
So far.
But when you do it with the brew, it feels that much sweeter.
When you do it with a brew, you get a clue token. Get a clue. I was trying to rhyme, and clue's the only thing that popped up in my head.
Well, why don't you give us a clue about this deck?
Okay. So, this deck I had been working on for a while, and while I wasn't able to test it a lot, I had a friend, Richie, that would test it for me, or that I'd give him suggestions like, hey, Richie, test these cards for me and get back to me. And he would tell me what cards were good, what cards were bad, and what he thought. But ultimately, I was not able to physically play the deck enough. I have a lot of brews that I talk about. Like this deck I've been talking about forever, but I haven't been able to actually play it.
You played it one time, like the very first iteration of it in Philadelphia after the team opened, right?
Yes, and I did not do too hard in that tournament,
but it was not very.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, it was not a very tuned deck, and it's still obviously still going through that process. But
yeah, I was losing too much to aggro, like Mardu and Mono Red. So then I was like, okay, let's shave some colors. Like let's make the base a 2-3 color deck, and then we'll splash the other colors.
Yeah.
So originally it was white. It was going to be white green based, but then I switched to black because black just had so many powerful removal spells. Yeah, like Restless Contempt is. We said early on, we're like, hey, people, this is like Hero's Downfall. People are going to play 1 or 2, then 3, then everyone's going to play 4, and this is exactly what's happening.
Yep.
Like we were right. It's Hero's Downfall that gains life. It doesn't matter.
And it exiles, which is not irrelevant in this format.
Correct. So I cut it down to 2 colors, kind of, in the main deck, anyways, and then I gave it the package of 5 color by splashing a land card called Cascading Cataracts.
This is like essentially Crystal Quarry.
It's actually a little different. Cascading Cataracts lets you. One, it's indestructible, which I'll get to later. But the fact that people think you can tap 5 and tap it, and it gives you blue, red, green, white, black mana, but it doesn't. It actually lets you filter into any combination you want. If you want, you can add 5 white or 5 blue or whatever, any combination you want.
Okay.
And the reason that's so important is because when you get a card out of the sideboard that needs a lot of white mana, it lets you splash if you want to, like splash Hour of Reckoning in your sideboard, or splash Zakama. And Zakama, when you need to gain 12 life or 9 life, you can, because Cascading Cataracts will give you that white resources you want. Like you can get 4 white resources and gain 12 life
without really having to play a lot of white mana on its own.
Correct. And what's great is, another great thing is, this is indestructible. This can't be destroyed. So people can't cut you off your colors.
With Field of Ruin, which is getting more and more popular. Yeah,
which is awesome. I actually had a player, I saw him have Field of Ruin up, was doing the Swiss. And he wanted to I knew he wanted to Field of Ruin my whatever I enchanted with Gift of Paradise to counter my spell. Basically counter my Gift of Paradise and kill my land and my enchantment.
Yep.
So instead I just waited. I cast Hour of Promise first, then went to go enchant my Cascading Cataracts with Gift of Paradise. And I thought he wasn't going to do anything, but he actually tried to kill it. He actually tried to kill it in response. So I got to get...
You just ramped then, right?
Yes, I get it basically untapped. My Gift of Paradise resolves on the Cascading Cataracts, so it was brutal.
Jeez. Is Cascading Cataracts legendary?
It is not. It is not.
How many do you have? Do you have one or two?
Just one.
Okay.
Just to tutor up with Our Promise eventually.
Okay. That sounds
but
reasonable.
yeah. The main deck is basically black-green. Last minute, I decided to add Red Splash for Angrath.
Do you feel like that was worth it?
In the end, no. What happened the whole entire tournament, I was struggling the entire time to get green mana. Because of the Red Splash, I played one red card in the main deck, which was Angrath, the Flame Chained. He was good, but he was not worth the Red Splash. And throughout the whole tournament, I wished I had played the 26 land, and I wish I had more green sources. And while I was struggling with my deck and getting its mana on almost like every other game, I was still just slaughtering people. Like I lost no matches during the 8 rounds of Swiss.
Yeah. Yeah, you were like the 2 seed going into the top 8.
Yeah, so that should say something about the deck and how powerful it is. Like, I was struggling with the mana, but it was still powerful enough to just win.
And that's pretty incredible for a at that time 5-color deck.
Yes.
So, let me try a way to phrase this question.
Okay.
Do you feel like that do you contribute, because you didn't lose in the Swiss, do you contribute your loss in the top 8? You lost to Todd Stevens, is that right?
Yeah, we actually sat down in the top,
winning the tournament.
Yeah, we actually sat down. It was funny, and I basically, as I was shuffling, I was hoping we would play in the finals. He just like chuckled, and I was like, the reason I'm saying that is because this is literally the finals, right? Whoever wins this
wins the tournament.
Probably wins the tournament. Like I was trying to be like, obviously it's a little like conceited almost, but Todd and I are both like obviously great players, and I think my deck was he was gonna be the hardest opponent and probably the hardest deck for me to face.
The hardest deck and the hardest opponent combined, yeah, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you contribute your issues with mana to losing to Todd, since that was your only loss of the entire tournament?
It did hurt me a lot with my opening hands. I actually mulliganed to 6 game 1, then I'll mulligan to 5, and I struggled to game 1. I actually got him to 4, but I never drew any thematic compasses. I had 15 cards left in my deck and 3 lands left in my deck, and those 3 lands all cycled.
Wow.
Yeah, I never drew any Masterminds acquisitions, which would have killed him. I never drew any Argos Bloodfast. I never drew a Thematic Compass or any of my cycle lands. Or my Gonti. I drew 1 Gonti, so I had 1 more left. So basically, I had like 8 good cards, 3 cycle lands, and then 4 cards that were just like bad. Basically like Moment of Craving or Fatal Push. And I ended up drawing a cycle land into a Moment of Craving. And that just basically I'll lost from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think because you're able to be so dynamic with your mana base, as far as like what I mean is you don't have lands that just produce mana. You have lands that cycle. You have lands that can sacrifice to do abilities. Yes. So it definitely makes sense to have 26 lands, because it's like, you have a lot of cycling lands. So if you don't need them, you cycle them away.
Yeah, this deck actually is a lot harder to play than I thought it was going to be. You get to the point where you just have so many options with your lands or your spells, and that can be a little difficult.
So this is something that I want to point out for listeners that are interested in playing this deck. Ali is saying this deck is hard, and I would say he's arguably, not just because he made this deck, but he is one of the best people. And I'm trying. I know I'm obviously biased because I'm your best friend, but I feel like Ali's one of the best people, one of the best Magic players at playing this type of deck. So if he's saying it's difficult, it's probably even more difficult than he's giving it credit for. But that also speaks to kind of the power level of the deck, right?
Yes. And the reason I'm saying it's difficult is because obviously you get games where it just doesn't matter. Like you have so much mana and you can just tutor for
a
comma or bolus. It doesn't matter. But the games where it's close, you have so many options. You can like okay, do I want to give this creature 2 counters or do I want to cast a spell? Like there's lots of times where like, okay, you have Restless Contempt, you can use your Infinite Deadlands to kill that the Veteran Motorist or Scrappy Scrounger. Like there's one time where I was like, okay, I can use the Contempt to kill the Scrappy Scrounger, or I can use the Deadlands to kill it. And Contempt exiles it, but also if I do that, I leave myself open to Chandra or Hazoret.
Yes. And, well, Contempt is an instant, and if you're Deadlands, you have to activate as a sorcery.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I went with Deadlands just to try to get him to exile creatures out of his graveyard. And like 2 turns later, he drew a Hazoret. And because I saved the Contempt, I was able to... it didn't matter. The Hazoret did not matter.
Would you say that Mastermind's Acquisition is kind of the centerpiece of this deck?
Oh, absolutely. This card is phenomenal. We've never had a card like this before. Never have. Oh my goodness! Like there's so many times I would cast a card and I'd be like, okay, I choose the mode for outside the game. I go to my sideboard, pick a card up, I hold it to my opponent, show them the back. This is the card, and I put it in my hand.
Yep.
And they're like, okay, what'd you get? I'm like, I don't tell you. And then that just baffles people. I had a couple people ask for the judge, and obviously, just says, yeah, you don't have to show because it's any card.
Yep.
And the kicker, they never truly know if that card was in your main deck.
Your main deck or sideboard, especially in this deck, since it's like all over the place with what you could possibly have.
It was great. It was great. Yeah, like did you choose the Argos Bloodfast or the Nicol Bolas? Like, what's going on here? It's great. It's great.
So Mastermind's Acquisition is the centerpiece of the deck, but the best card in the deck is what?
The best card in the deck?
Yes.
I mean, I think I have to go with probably Hour of Promise or Restless Contempt.
I thought you were going to say Hour of Promise, but I wanted to give you a chance to say something else.
I think it's Restless Contempt or Hour of Promise, between those two. Hour of Promise is definitely the most underrated good card out there right now.
Yeah.
Like, people aren't playing it enough. It's phenomenally powerful. Everyone knows Restless Contempt is good because of the gods and planeswalkers.
It's good. It's just a really efficient, solid card. It's rarely bad.
Yes. And yes. And Hour of Promise, yeah, it is. It's rarely bad. And Hour of Promise is so good. Getting into lands and then making zombies is just phenomenal. Now, by the time this podcast goes up, will be Friday, and if you are a Patreon supporter, you were able to see the future deck that I talked about way earlier, like Sunday, basically.
Yep.
Last Sunday. So the article is up, so I can talk about a little bit of
some of your changes. Yeah. So where does this deck go from last weekend when you played it at the Classic? Where does it go from here?
Okay, so there's 2 ways I can go. First of all, we definitely need more green sources, and we need 26 land.
Okay.
If you're hearing this, you guys need to play. You guys should definitely check out the Patreon post or my article on Gathering Magic. The deck list will be there or on Patreon or Patreon. But yes, 26 lands, and then we're dropping the red completely for blue in one list. The reason we're going for blue is because Scarab God is great, right?
Yep.
If you have a ton of mana, it's even better, because then, like, if you have like nine mana laying around, you will always win the Scarab God War because you are ramping. You'll always have more mana. And the last blue card I'm adding to the deck is Swarm Intelligence. Swarm Intelligence is a card that costs 7 mana. It's an enchantment, and it says anytime you cast a spell, copy that spell.
Instant or sorcery spell.
Sorry. Sorry. I apologize. Anytime you cast instant or sorcery, copy that instant sorcery. You may choose new targets. So we're doing this. We're playing that because most of our deck is instant or sorcery, and then the only creature we're playing, we're no longer playing Tetzimoc. Tetzimoc was bad for me main deck. Argos Bloodfast was bad for me main deck. So I've cut those. The 2 cards we're playing main deck, the 2 creatures, are Carnage Tyrants. The reason we're playing Carnage Tyrants is because 1, our deck is immune to Essence Scatter. I want to keep it that way. By playing Carnage Tyrant, we're still immune to Essence Scatter. Our deck is basically immune to Fatal Push and Fatal Push and Restless Contempt. By playing Carnage Tyrant, we're still immune to those cards.
But you also have a threat that you don't have to Mastermind's Acquisition for.
Yes, and you have plenty of ways to bash through a gifted Aetherborn or a Gonti. You have Moment of Craving, which shrinks their power, so it doesn't matter. You also have 4 Infinite Deadlands that shrink their power as well. So Carnage Tyrant will get through and will kill your opponent very quickly.
Yeah, because even if they block, even though you're not killing it with those cards, they all have 2 power. So if they have 0 power and Death Touch, there's nothing to Death Touch. They're not even touching it.
Yeah, and you'll trample over. The card has trample too, so it's great. It's pretty great.
So with adding Carnage Tyrant, you have to dramatically change your mana base, because if you're already short on green, you're adding a double green card.
Yes, the mana base has a lot more green sources in it now. And as far like this deck is more. We're talking about the Patreon post here. The deck has 3 Masterminds acquisitions. It's more spell based and it's more like Mastermind based. So you win game 1, you win with Carnage Tyrant, Hour of Promise, the zombies obviously, or Swarm Intelligence. But your main win is still to tutor for a sideboard card. There's no Scarab God main deck. Instead, you can wish for Scarab God. You can wish for Nazahal, Primal Tide. You can wish for Nicol Bolas, the Kama.
Whatever your opponent can't deal with.
Yeah, the Kama is one of the cards that I won with the most. And I want to add one more thing. I've also added one more card to the sideboard that wasn't there before. I've added a card called Rishkar's Expertise.
I'm familiar with that card. It's played in Commander a lot.
Yes. It is very good with Carnage Tyrant, but since we're only playing 2 Carnage Tyrants, this card you don't want to play it in main deck. You mean because you only have two creature cards? It's very hard to have both in your opening hand at the same time. But there are scenarios where you do have an active Carnage Tyrant, and you can wish for Rishkar's Expertise, and so you'll draw 7 cards, and then be able to cast a 5-drop from your hand, which is pretty absurd.
Yeah. So, Swarm Intelligence, there's not really any enchantments that are even played right now. Well, that's not true. I guess Search for Escanta is certainly played, but like enchantments are not something that people are trying to remove. So
no, they're not.
This is a really difficult card for people to even interact with at all.
Yeah,
like it kind of just sits in play, and then I imagine the turn you untap with it, it's almost impossible to lose the game if you have 2 spells to cast.
I agree. It is that way. Like think of Primal Amulet. Primal Amulet is similar to this card, but it takes 4 spells for you to cast it, then you get a land to copy 1 spell. This obviously costs more, but once you untap, you are doubling everything.
Everything, yeah. So you're turning, you turn your, you turn, gosh, I can't think of that. You turn Moment of Craving into Vraska's Contempt, essentially.
Correct. Yes, it starts killing Hazret, it starts killing Heart of Kieran, and
then you turn, all that stuff. And then you turn Vraska's Contempt into like Settle the Wreckage, gain 4 life.
Yeah, and you turn Battle of the Bridge to I can't lose this game anymore because I'm at 100 life.
I was like gain 14.
Yes, and then if you ever cast Mastermind's Acquisition, you just like
oh god,
that's it. The game's done.
Yeah, because then you can search. So you can search your deck for another Mastermind's Acquisition, then search your sideboard for something, and then just
no. Well, I think you have to choose the same mode both times.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You do.
Yeah, but still, it doesn't matter. It's still powerful. Like you can search your sideboard. Okay, you can get.
Yeah, I guess that's all that matters. That's all the good stuff.
Yeah, if you want to buy back, you can get Wildest Dreams later, or you can get a Rishkar's Expertise.
Okay, do you have? Also, so speaking, go ahead.
Also, one more trick in the deck is Wildest Dreams. That's the main deck, so you can buy like all your stuff. It's basically the deck seasons past. Think of it that way. But if you really want to, it's very niche, obviously. If you have Swarm Intelligence out and you cast Wildest Dreams, you can either regrow your whole entire graveyard, basically, or you can choose the same targets with Wildest Dreams both times, so that the copy will get all the cards back, and then the original card itself will have no targets, it'll go to the graveyard. So that way, if you ever get...
Oh, that's smart. That's good.
So that way,
that way it doesn't exile itself.
Yes. So that way, if you get another Wildest Dreams, you can just loop them. Obviously,
that's adorable. That's real cute.
Yeah,
that's real cute.
Yeah, it's really cute. Like you probably will never need to do this, or maybe like 1 out of like 100 games, because usually regrowing graveyard is good enough. But you can, if you want to, just loop them back and forth. But yeah, it's very niche, but it is there. It is an option.
So, do you have any like legitimate sideboard cards? Like, do you have an actual like a
Sideboard?
Yeah, like, is there any time you're like, I need to bring this card into my main deck rather than just leave it in my sideboard?
Yeah. This is what's great about the deck too. Like, let's say like you're playing cards like we have Duress, we have Silent Gravestone, which you like. We're boarding in like sure. Sometimes you want to wish for a Silent Gravestone made from game 1 and bring it in, but now. What's so great about this card is you can bring in all these cards. Like you bring in 2 Duress, you bring in Search for Conta, you bring in Argo's Bloodfast, you bring in Nazahal, you bring in Zakama, you bring in Bolus, you bring them all to the main deck. Because when you cast Mastermind's Acquisition, you can still tutor for you can still tutor for the card for your main deck.
Because you're putting your main deck cards into your sideboard, so you never lose access to them.
Exactly, and that's what's so powerful about the card. Like. You actually still have a sideboard. Sure, Search for Content and Bloodfast are good against control decks, and normally with Wish cards, you leave them in your sideboard, but with this one, you don't have to. You just bring them in, and then you either draw them, or you can still tutor for them.
Man.
So it's fantastic. Like, and there's also times where you actually don't even want to bring in Zakama or Nicol Bolas because you just wish for them.
Yeah, you just want to leave them in the board so you can wish for them. Especially if you're playing a deck that cannot counter if they don't have negate essentially.
Yeah.
Then you're just gonna do it.
Yeah, and just guys, every time I wished, I got like let's say I wished a lot. I won all my games from wishing with Masterminds.
Sure.
There's all times where I choose between Zakama or Nicol Bolas, and I think 9 out of 10 times I chose Zakama. Zakama is so powerful.
You don't have to tell me.
The time I chose Nicol Bolas was just was funny because it was against Mono Red. I chose Nicol Bolas so I could just tutor for him, play him, and then deal 7 to my opponent. Otherwise, I would have got Zakama.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and for those that are scared about aggro decks, I played against 4 Mardu players. I beat them all. I played against 2 red players, and I beat those players too.
So out of your 8 rounds, you played against.
I played
6
4 mono red,
6 aggro decks.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 6 aggro decks. Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes, but 1 was in the top 8.
Sure.
Yeah, so I played against 4 Mardu, 2 mono red, 1 blue black. Mid-range, and then another blue-black, then Todd's blue-black.
And his is more control-y than I imagine the mid-range was.
Yeah, he won game 2 at Mold 5. The game was close, but he had his one of turn 7 Nazahal the Primal Tide. He drew 8 cards off of it, and it was very hard to come back from there.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh, you continue on.
I'll say, okay, so that's the blue splash. And in the article, I also thought about splashing the white instead of blue. The reason being is because white gives you access to mostly Approach the Second Sun main deck. And I think Profane Procession is also a sleeper, which is also very good. So the white gives you access to mostly Approach and Profane Procession.
Okay.
And that's basically it.
Okay, so
for the white.
What can I'm sure a lot of people, especially after this last week, that your journal post was very popular. So what do people have to look forward to for this week?
Well, guys, I am super pumped about Our Promise, and I think it's a very good card. I actually think a deck that's another sleeper deck that Our Promise will be good in is actually a Turbo Fog type deck with Our Promise. We have a lot of good ways. We have Bounty Luxa, we have Girapur Orrery. People have forgotten about that card. That card is actually kind of good with the Swordtooth Dinosaur. Well, let's you play additional lands per turn. Yeah, Orrery so lets you draw more cards and play more lands. So it's good. It's good there. We also have Kumina's Awakening, which is good with curves very well into Our Promise because you ascend, you get hashtag blessed very quickly. so it's one-sided Howling Mine.
Okay.
And then you get you have a bunch of fogs. You have 4 Haze of Pollens, which is a great fog. And you have Commencement of Festivities if you want, which is also another great fog.
Okay, but people are gonna have to go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thinktwicemtg to see the full deck list.
Correct. Yes, they'll be there this weekend. I'll post it.
Awesome. Okay. Ollie, anything else on Standard or this deck in general?
No, but if you guys play it, I cannot go to Grand Prix Memphis this weekend. I really wish I could, but Lily, which is essentially my stepdaughter, has a birthday. I'll be doing that instead. So if you guys play it in F&M, you play it at the GP, you play it anywhere, please tweet at me or tweet at Justin, tweet at the podcast, and let me know how you do.
Send pictures. If you can get pictures of ridiculous board states, that's actually what I want to see, whether it be in real life or Magic Online.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to jump out for a moment. When we come back, we have a bunch of guesses for the future of Magic story as we head into Dominaria. Ollie, normally in our Story Circle segment, we cover either a Magic story or we talk about a Magic story with a lowercase s from the past. But for this week, and maybe leading up into Dominaria, I want to take some stabs at what we think is going to happen. We have a lot of information from the last week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
In the last week's Magic story where we got a little glimpse at the very end of Jace's story. Over the weekend there was a trade show that had some actual product shown that had art for characters, and they gave a little description of the story. There's a podcast with the new author of the Magic stories for Dominaria, Martha Wells. So we actually have a lot of information. So where do you want to? I mean, there's not really a starting point, so we can kind of just jump in and we've written some notes down to cover.
Yeah. So we know for sure from the last story that Jace walks to Dominaria and he sees Gideon and the person we can only assume is Jay Ballard.
Yeah.
And then we also know from I believe that it was a convention where they're starting off, where Gideon and Liliana are starting off.
Yes, and specifically, we now know that the story is focally centered around Gideon and Liliana as the two primary characters.
Yes, you actually told me earlier that it's going to start. I believe you said the timeline is going to be similar to the timeline of Ixalan.
Yeah, it actually is running. It runs.
Why don't you explain it?
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, go and explain it.
So, the Dominaria story that we're getting ready to get is running concurrently with Ixalan. So that means at the very end of Hour of Devastation, when Nicol Bolas basically takes a poop all over the Gatewatch, at the time that Jace planeswalks accidentally to Ixalan, some of the other Gatewatch, specifically Gideon and Liliana, planeswalk to Dominaria. This is happening to this story that we're getting ready to get for Dominaria is happening at the same time as the Ixalan story with Jace and Vraska that we just had. So think about the beginning of this story. Well, when we get to the beginning of this story, this is going to be the exact same time that Jace wakes up on the beach in Ixalan, not knowing who he is, not knowing where he is. So we know at some point in this story, I don't know where, and this is something that we're going to talk about, that Jace will ultimately end up back on Dominaria, but I imagine that is way far down the line in this story. I don't think it's going to be, my guess is it's going to be in the third act, or even at the conclusion of the story we're going to hear on Dominaria. I actually would not be surprised if Jace shows up at the very end of the very last Magic story for this set.
All right, that's very interesting. I'm also interested to see how Gideon and Liliana deal with Jace's quote unquote, not necessarily death, but they don't know where he went. They can't track him because he went to Ixalan.
Yeah, they can only assume that he is gone.
Correct, and I'm really curious to see how Gideon deals with it emotion wise, and also curious to see how Liliana deals with it as well.
Because they're the two. They're honestly of the, let's say, there's of the monocolored characters in the Gatewatch, Gideon, Liliana, Nissa, and Chandra, they're the two that care about Jace the most. actually, Gideon is very forward about Jace is his. I think Gideon legitimately thinks Jace is his best friend. I don't think Jace thinks that Gideon is his best friend. Well, maybe he might think that, after the events of Ixalan.
I see Gideon as like this really bro type guy. Like he's like, you're a bro, man. I love you. We're like a family. We gotta do this together.
Yeah, exactly.
I see him like chest pumping, going to the gym, lifting weights, like, bro, protein shake, bro.
I don't think
here, drink.
I do not think that Gideon's
a
like
bro.
that. I don't think Gideon's a bro.
No, Gideon's a bro. He wants Jace to work out. He wants Jace to get buff. He's a bro.
I don't think those two things have to mean the same thing. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to plow through that. Liliana, on the other hand, we know cares about Jace.
She's not a bro.
But she is very kind of passive how she shows it, which we've seen in a lot of stories. Obviously, Liliana and Jace have a very storied past, more so than any other members of the Gatewatch. So it's going to be interesting to see the difference between Liliana and Gideon, how they're interacting with each other, and how they interact about where they think their friend is or isn't.
Jace's. So do you think Liliana loves Jace at this point?
I think she does, but she doesn't. I don't think she thinks she loves anything.
Well, yeah, obviously she's guarded, but I think she's so guarded. I don't think she's let. I personally don't think she is, but I understand where you come from too.
I think that
I think she's too guarded.
I don't think she. Liliana's old, like in years. Lived.
Yes.
So I don't think since Liliana has been a planeswalker, I do not think she has loved anything. And that's
because
a really long
her brother's
time.
Death.
Not because of that.
Well, that's part of it.
But that was the event that led Liliana ultimately that her spark ignited, because when she tried to save her brother, and Liliana is from Dominaria, which is one of the reasons I'm really excited about this story, because I assumed that this being her home plane, she was going to be a central character, much like Chandra was a central character on Kaladesh.
That's exciting, because I'd love to hear more of her person and her character, honestly.
Me too. But Liliana has, to give you, because I'm sure we'll talk more about Liliana a lot over the next, 4 months. But Liliana, her spark ignited because her brother became sick. She tried to save him. Ultimately, what she gave him made him go crazy and start to kill people. Then she had to use magic to create zombies that killed her brother again. And then her spark ignited. Well, actually killed her brother.
Yeah.
She all the people her brother killed in his madness. She ended up not really unbeknownst to her, but she ended up kind of having her magical abilities start to take shape and reanimated those people into zombies to stop her brother, which of course made her very upset at her spark ignited, where she went in Innistrad. The rest is history. But I don't know that she's been back to her home plane since then. Maybe she has, but I don't think it's been like specifically talked about on like in Liliana's story. She's been to a lot of different places, but I don't think she's been back to Dominaria. And I think there's probably a good reason for that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but we do know that she's back on Dominaria and that her last demon is there.
Yes.
And that she is definitely teaming up with, or at least talk to Gideon about her last demon. And she wants to obviously kill the last demon and just give her the contract. Do you know that demon's name?
Yes, we know the demon's name because Martha Wells, I think, spoiled it in one of her interviews about Magic Story, and her last demon's name is Belzenlock.
Belzenlock. We also know
Bells and Locks.
Pop, Lock, and Belzenlock.
Pop, Belzenlock, and drop it.
I like that. I was trying to say that, but I couldn't get it out right. I'm glad you picked up where I left off.
I got you, bro.
Thank you. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
So Belzenlock is, from what we know, he is now the leader of the Cabal. The Cabal, from last time we knew Dominaria, basically all the central characters died. Like,
And this is from
Phage,
from
Shainer.
the events of Odyssey Block back in 2003.
Yeah, way back. We know the Cabal was basically has gone away, but Belden Locke has apparently revived the Cabal and is now the leader of it. So the demon's leader of the Cabal. We can only assume he wants to take over Dominaria or most of it or something to that effect. We don't know exactly what he wants, but we can imagine he wants more power or something selfish because he's demon and black aligned.
Yep, demons are inherently selfish.
Yes.
At least ultimately, they may not necessarily be selfish at all times, but they're always essentially serving a greater purpose that is for themselves.
Are you selfish?
Only my demon token. Only that version of it.
Okay. So we also learned about other characters that we haven't heard nowhere else because of this podcast with Martha.
Yep.
We learned about a guardian angel of the Weatherlight. Her name was it Tiana, I believe, right?
And this is important. One, confirms that the Weatherlight is still functional, and most likely confirms that is where Jace planeswalked to when he planeswalked at the end of the Ixalan story.
Yes. I wonder what she's going to do. Do you have any ideas of what Tiana is or will do, or why she is literally called the guardian angel of the Weatherlight?
I imagine that she is going to have a fight with Bells and Locke, because when there's a demon,
there's an angel.
There's an angel, generally. So we also have a vampire. We don't know his or her significance. The vampire's name is Arbad.
Arbad. I wonder if he's a pirate and is at one point.
Maybe he's misplaced.
Yeah, maybe he should have been Ixalan.
Arbad.
The vampire pirate.
The vampirate.
Oh, I like that.
Arbad, the vampirate.
Or the
man, they really
pyre.
They
pyre.
You
can do that.
They really missed the boat on that one.
They did. Arbad.
They really missed the Conqueror's Galleon on that one.
Yeah. Okay. We got it. We got the reference.
Because you see it, he's a pirate, so he's on a ship.
I got it.
He's a vampire, so he's on the Conqueror's Galleon because he's a conquistador, because he's a vampire, because that's what they were on Ixalan.
Thank you for lightning us.
I think that is the greatest joke I've ever made on this podcast.
Probably. You know what?
Thank you. You know, I appreciate if all of you listeners, if you could just take a moment wherever you are and just give me a clap, one or two audible claps, just wherever you are. I'll give you a second.
Do that for Parnell.
Thank you.
Let's give Parnell a moment of silence.
Thank you for the 10% of you that just did that. The 90% of you that didn't, I'm going to give you another opportunity right now.
All right, let's wait.
Okay. All right. So 5%.
Hopefully everyone's done it now.
So a full 15% of you have clapped for me. I appreciate that.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So some people might be driving. Maybe they can't clap. Maybe they're clapping for you in their head.
Yeah, it could be. Could be.
On their heart. But okay, so Arbad, I can only assume he's a big central character because the way Martha talked about him on the podcast when she was being interviewed.
Yes.
He was a main character. She liked the way his character developed. So the character that develops usually is pretty central to the story. So while we don't know what he does or what he's going to do.
Obviously, if the author of the entire narrative is spending time developing this character, I would imagine that this is going to be an important character, which is exciting.
I wonder if he's going to be any part with the Singer vampire line or anything.
Who knows?
Because Singer vampires are from Dominaria, right?
I
believe so. I'm not sure, but I believe so. Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot like that.
You did though. You did.
I did.
I don't. I think so, but I also
not sure.
Not 100% sure. So we also know a couple of other characters. So this is from images that we've seen of the booster packs. They spoiled the booster packs. The key art, which we all have seen, shows Karn, Teferi, and Joyra. The booster packs show Karn, Teferi, Jai Ballard, and then two unnamed characters. One is
one's an Aven.
One's an Aven, and one just looks like a I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
A humanoid, another random humanoid.
Yeah, the Aven looks like Aven is literally half bird, half man. It kind of looks like someone from the Order. The Order, which was basically the antagonist or protagonist to the Cabal. But we have no idea if the Order is actually exists in Dominaria, but that's where I've seen them in the past.
Yep. And they also showed the art for the Planeswalker deck, so we know that the Planeswalker decks is again Teferi. Teferi seems to be the kind of like the main one of the main characters, just because he's on like everything. And then Chandra, which is the first time we've seen Chandra, so we know that Chandra will ultimately be on Dominaria,
which is crazy. So I'm excited. This is a lot of Planeswalkers, and I'm excited to see Karn. I'm excited to see Karn.
I'm excited to see Karn. I'm excited to see Teferi. Do you think that this? So Teferi has hair, which is Teferi has not had hair in a second.
Yes.
So what's going on with Teferi and his hair? Because in all of his arc, he has hair, short hair.
I think he's just had stem cell injection into his hair. Into his head.
Stem cell injection? That is pretty serious.
For hair, yep. Stem cell hair injections.
Stem cell hair injections.
Or Teferi.
I mean, it could just be, Teferi for a moment, he clearly is a Planeswalker at this point. But he sacrificed his spark at the end of the Time Spiral block to mend all of the time rifts that were happening on Time Spiral.
Yep.
Has he gained his spark back? This is something that remains to be seen. We're not really sure.
Have we ever seen a Planeswalker gain the spark back after they gave it away?
No.
Exactly. So
absolutely, we've not. Definitively,
I do not think so. I know there's been plenty of characters that have tried to steal sparks from Planeswalkers, like Memnarch tried to steal a spark. Yawgmoth tried to steal a spark. The only people that have passed their sparks on was Urza, when he passed his spark on to Karn, basically his eyes, the Might and Meekstone, and then one more was Venser. Venser used his spark
to save Karn also.
Yes, but Venser also had the power of teleportation. Like that was his power. So basically, like maybe you can say, okay, well he teleported his spark into Karn, and that's why he could do it. But we've never seen actual. Venser's like basically the only one that we've seen recently do it. So I think Teferi's still a non-Planeswalker personally.
What if Karn
listening
gives his spark to Teferi?
See, I don't like this. I hope not, because I don't like this whole passing of sparks thing. Because
we don't. Well, no, hold on now. We don't know that you can pass sparks to humans or to humanoids. Karn's unique.
Yeah, he's a silver golem.
Yeah, but he may be able to freely kind of pass his spark on and off, because he could take them very easily, and maybe he could give it just as easily.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
but we do know. You're right. We do never know. We don't know. Anything can happen.
Especially with Karn.
Yes, we do know Dominaria. What is the headline for Dominaria?
Gather Legends. This is the 2-word headline that is on the product page for Dominaria. Gather Legends.
So when you said that, I assumed we were going to see Suspend. The mechanic Suspend will make Dominaria. And then when you said Gather Legends, and then my theory of time travel Suspend, we can assume with both of our powers combined, like both our bro powers combined,
bro powers activate.
There has to be some sort of time travel or some sort of rifts or something going on in Dominaria, right?
Well, we know that the key art, which shows Karn, Teferi, and Joyra, those are 3 of the most central characters to time as a thing in the world, in the entire story, the overarching story in the history of Magic. all
they're like if you said, Ollie, name the time ages off top of your head. Name all the time ages top of your head. Those are the ones I would name. Teferi, Jorya, and Karn.
Yeah, Karn not necessarily a time mage, but has been associated with time-related things frequently.
Yes, Karn was known. Karn is special with time because Urza was trying to send something back through time, and the only thing he found out that could go through time was undamaged was silver, which is why he made Karn. And Karn is a silver golem, so he can travel through time undamaged, or because what he is.
Yep.
So that's super interesting too.
Yep. So
about Karn.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do think. I mean, Dominaria, historically time has always been a critical piece to whatever's going on, all the way back from the Brothers' War through all of Urza's time, where he was creating Karn to try to send. Because Karn ultimately, originally was supposed to be sent back in time to be an assassin, ironically, and then became a pacifist because he was sitting in and was horrified at what he had done.
Yes. Yeah. Karn is still pacifist. Honestly, even the card even the Planeswalker card, Karn Liberated, technically all cards' abilities do not destroy anything.
They all exile. They just remove.
They all exile or restart the game. He is still a pacifist. So
yep, and probably always will be. That is all. That's why he. I believe that's actually why he was able to be corrupted by the Phyrexian, because he was unwilling to fight them.
Which is crazy. Maybe he'll fight for Jorya. Jorya is like the only person that I think he would fight for because he loves her. So we'll see. We'll see.
But beyond Karn, obviously, Teferi has been always closely linked with time. Most recently, closing the time rifts on Dominaria when we were last on Dominaria, and then Jorya is also a time-related mage that can manipulate time.
Yes, he closed the rifts on Zalfir.
Yeah.
To save his whole
that's Teferi.
island.
I was saying Jorya also is a time mage that can manipulate time, but not necessarily in the way that Teferi has been able to.
Yes. Yep.
But
I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'm actually really excited too, because this is.
Do you think we'll get any hint of the Phyrexians here?
I actually do not. Actually, don't. I don't think we're going to interact with the Phyrexians until we go back to New Phyrexia.
Okay, I do think we do know for sure. I think for sure that. Definitely for sure. Dominaria has been very affected by the Phyrexians. They've been affected in such a way that I imagine some civilizations worship them, or some societies have adapted their society or their whatever because of the Phyrexians.
Maybe Dominaria is, as we talked about last week, is a massive, gigantic plane.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're not going to touch all of the parts of Dominaria. There's just no way. It's too big.
Right. But I imagine there's some parts that have taken Phyrexian culture or something from the Phyrexians, and maybe it's not just a picture. Maybe it's like a statue, or maybe it's just tradition. And have adopted.
Maybe. I mean, they don't. Because that's the thing. They're not. They are kind of a little religious based. At least when the Dominaria based Phyrexians.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's weird. I don't think this story is messing with them. But I also know that we are.
I don't think messing with them.
Yeah, but I think that before the Dominaria story is done for good, there's no doubt that we're gonna have some interaction with Phyrexia.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see at the very least just little hints of Phyrexian society. Not society. When I say society, I don't mean they're trying to revive the Phyrexians, but I believe the wars and everything that happened because of the Phyrexians are going to have some sort of impact on social aspects.
Maybe I honestly just don't think that we're going to see that in this story.
Okay.
That's
all right. We'll see.
Guess. But you know what? Even though we disagree on that, that's actually not our question of the week. We have a different one.
Yeah. Before we get to the question of the week, though, do you have anything about the Raven Man?
I think that the first time that we saw the Raven Man ever was Magic Origins, when we were introduced to Liliana's her spark igniting story, and the Raven Man appeared to her as that was happening, like directly before that happened, and has been appearing to her ever since. So
okay, so you think the Raven Man is possibly from Dominaria, or what's your theory here?
yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, I think I've read a lot of theories that it's Nicol Bolas, that it's Urza, that it's Limdol, that it's anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, and I legitimately don't know. Like, I don't think it's any of those. I don't think it's Bolas. I kind of thought that for a little while, but I ultimately don't think that's what it is. But I think we're going to learn more about the Raven Man on this story for sure.
Okay. Well, I still think it's Bolas. If it's not, I'd love to learn who it is. But I personally believe it's I believe it's Bolas, so we'll see.
I think it could be. I think there's a shot that it's Bolas. I think there's a shot. I think he's in the non-zero category.
I think he's the highest from what we know.
Yeah, but that's so little. We know so little that I guess maybe he's the one that makes the most sense from what we know, but I think we don't know much.
Enough.
Yeah.
That's fair too. From what we know, I think he's the highest, but again, we don't know that much. But from the battle of Nicol Bolas versus Liliana at Amonkhet, Raven just being so against battling Nicol Bolas made me think that it was either a line of Nicol Bolas or new Nicol Bolas, or maybe it's Ugin. Maybe it's Ugin.
I mean, honestly, I actually think it's...
Holy crap,
I think it's more likely to be Ugin than Nicol Bolas.
Man, I just thought of that because, like, maybe it is Ugin. That'd be super interesting.
It would. But you know what? Our question of the week is about Liliana.
Yes.
My favorite character in all of Magic's story. So this is one of the reasons I'm super excited to return to Dominaria, because I knew that Liliana was going to be a central character, and obviously she is. So really excited about that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and ask the question of the week, but I know we're going to have a little solid conversation about this, because we have some info to support both of our sides, because we've taken different sides on this one. The question of the week is a simple one to ask, but a very complicated one in thought. Ultimately, will Liliana turn on the Gatewatch? Ollie?
I'm gonna let people think about it here just a little bit. Because when I first heard that question, I was like, I went back and forth a couple times. But I came to the conclusion that, yes, I believe Liliana will turn on the Gatewatch. This is coming from how she's interacted with Bolas in the past, how she's interacted with Bolas on Amonkhet, and like, she obviously fears Bolas. She knows his power, and she's going to meet with Nicol Bolas after Amonkhet. Bolas is waiting to meet her and talk to her. So I think they will talk. I think Bolas will tell her to do something, or to be like an eavesdrop or something, and that Liliana will do it out of basically fear of Nicol Bolas. I think Nicol Bolas will use her as a great pawn in some sort of
maybe a general
scheme.
A general for his army.
Yes, something. I think he will do something with her. He knows she's powerful, and he knows that Liliana is afraid of him and knows his power. So I think that fear will be the thing that turns her against the Gatewatch, especially since she's from Amonkhet. We know she ran away to Dominaria, and Nicol Bolas said, "Hey, I'll meet back up with you. So you wait for me like a good little dog, and we'll talk."
Yeah, because Liliana and Bolas have had they've had a lot of interactions in many years over the years. So they're very familiar with each other, yeah.
My ultimate answer is yes, Liliana will turn on the Gatewatch.
So, and obviously we're not getting these questions from anywhere. We're kind of posing them ourselves, and a lot of times, especially with our Magic Story questions, we don't always get the answers to these. These are kind of just what we think is going to happen because we like speculating. So even when I asked this question to you, I wasn't even sure what side I thought I was going to be on.
Right.
I think you can make an argument that yes,
Either case.
Liliana will turn on the Gatewatch. Ultimately, I'm going to say no. I don't think that Liliana will turn on the Gatewatch. I think that ultimately, Liliana is uncomfortable as being in the Gatewatch. It's not really her thing to kind of be a team. She's not ever really considered herself a team player, despite some people in the Gatewatch wanting her to be. That being said, ultimately, the reason that Liliana was on the Gatewatch in the first place in the events of Eldritch Moon, and continuing on through Amonkhet and now on to Dominaria, is Liliana's goals align with the rest of the Gatewatch. And right now, Liliana has 2 goals. I think one is very clear, and that's to defeat her last demon. That's something that she's asked the Gatewatch for help to do. At that time, it was to defeat 2 more because Razaketh was still around. But now that Razaketh is not around, she has Bells. Oh my gosh.
Bells and Lock.
Bells and Lock.
Bells and Lock.
Bells and Locks. Bells and Lock to defeat, which would be part 1. And I think part 2 of her plan now is she wants to take out Nicol Bolas. When they were fighting on Amonkhet, Liliana and Bolas did not fight. Liliana stopped and said to, or Bolas stopped and said to Liliana, "I do not want to fight you. It's not worth it for you. I'm going to give you a chance to just leave, and then we can talk about it later." Yeah. Liliana hesitated greatly because the Chain Veil, who is becoming more and more in tune with Liliana, basically Liliana is having more and more control over the Chain Veil rather than the other way around. We've seen that since the introduction of the Chain Veil into the story. The Chain Veil, I believe, is part of now of kind of Liliana's consciousness, her stream of thought. I think Liliana believes that she can defeat Bolas, and I actually think that Bolas thinks that Liliana is a legitimate threat to him.
Okay, so what's your answer?
I think no, but it's not meant necessarily in the sense that she wants to help the Gatewatch, but what the Gatewatch wants is what Liliana wants, and that's to defeat Bolas. And I think that ultimately, because of that, she's willing to do whatever it takes to defeat Bolas, and that means remaining with the Gatewatch to attempt to do so. I'm looking at Liliana how I kind of think of Kylo Ren.
Okay. So she's just using means to an end. Means to an end.
Think about Kylo Ren in the scene where Kylo Ren and Rey in The Last Jedi. Spoiler alert, by the way, for The Last Jedi. But man, if you haven't seen this movie, you probably don't. You're not going to see it. You haven't seen it yet. Where Kylo Ren and Rey ultimately, Kylo Ren kills Snoke, and then he and Rey fight and defeat Snoke's royal guards, and afterwards they have that moment where they both think that they're going to join each other. That Kylo Ren thinks that Rey's going to join him and rule the First Order, and then Rey thinks that Kylo's going to come and skip around the world, the universe together.
Yep.
I believe that Liliana is Kylo Ren in the case of Bolas. Bolas is under the impression that he is going to be able to use Liliana as a pawn. Even though he knows how powerful Liliana is, and I think Liliana is going to be so focused on just killing Bolas that ultimately that will lead her to align with people, which are the Gatewatch, that she might not necessarily want to, but also isn't opposed to do because they want the same thing. And I think that's what's going to make them continue on with being on the same team.
All right, so Justin is no, mine is yes. Justin had to take, 10 years to answer, so he's obviously doubting himself, so he's wrong. So Liliana is definitely going to turn on the Gatewatch.
You know what? You guys let us know at Thinktwice MTG, at Ali Aintrazi MTG, at Ali Aintrazi, and at JParnell1 on Twitter. This is our question of the week. Will Liliana turn on the Gatewatch? Ali says yes. I say no.
Before we go, though, next section, I just want to say real quick, I don't believe the Snoke guy is dead. I think it's a lie. All right, let's
He's
go.
super dead. You're wrong. Alternate question of the week. This is not a question, but just tell Ollie how terribly wrong he is. Snoke's super dead. You're so wrong. Anyway, we're done.
Right.
Anything else on Dominaria Magic Story for now? Okay. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the new hot movie in the entire world, Black Panther. Black Panther is our first Marvel movie that has come out since Thor Ragnarok, which you were disappointed by because you got tricked thinking that it wasn't going to be a comedy. It was.
Yes.
I'm glad you're admitting that finally. And then we have Black Panther, which has been getting rave reviews and has made the second most money of any movie in history over its first weekend, only going after The Force Awakens.
It's crazy.
So, what do you? I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay, I'll start first because you have too many thoughts.
I have so many thoughts.
I know you're full of thoughts.
I'm full of thoughts.
So, yeah, I think this movie was great. I enjoyed it. It was everything I was expecting in a superhero movie, but nothing. But I just heard so much hype about this movie. Like I was expecting some sort of side plot or something surprising or something I wasn't expecting. But the storyline lined up perfectly to any superhero movie. Like the bad guy was obvious. Like how he was dealt with was kind of obvious. Who saved the day was pretty like everything was like super traditional superhero movie.
So it's kind of cookie cutter.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, yes, I would say it was cookie cutter. It was good, but I think I personally it was overhyped. That's my opinion on the movie, but I think it was good.
I actually, I think this is going to be an unpopular opinion, Ollie, like yours was, but I actually agree with you.
You think it's overhyped?
I think it was a very good movie. Like I think it was very good. But I don't know. I'll let you continue your thoughts on it because I have a whole thing to get into.
I mean that is basically my thought. Like when I was watching, I was like, okay, Ollie, I always do this. Try to predict what's going to happen. So okay, I was like, okay, this guy's gonna be obviously the bad guy. He's gonna try to take the throne. Blah blah blah. They're gonna fight. I think Black Panther come on top. There's one time where my theory can be proven wrong, and that was when the female characters were fighting the what's the villain's name?
Eric Killmonger.
Yes, when they were fighting, they're fighting basically the warriors, the female warriors were fighting him. I was like, oh wow, well if they beat him, then I was wrong because I thought the Black Panther was going to beat him. That's how cookie cutter I thought it was going to be. It's like, well,
yeah.
He beats the first Amazons basically. They're not Amazons, but he beats them. Then the other two come out with Xena, Warrior Princess. She has those circle things that she throws like Xena. Another one has blasters on her arms that is blasting the evil Black Panther.
Yeah, the blast.
So I was like, okay,
blasting blasters.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the females do beat him, and my cookie cutter theory is wrong. But no, he beats the females again, and then the Black Panther ultimately fights him and triumphs and wins, and just proved my cookie cutter theory was right. So I was not proven wrong.
Yeah, I don't think. So I guess I want to start with something else before I kind of get to my thoughts. This is something that I was talking to you about earlier, and I've talked to a couple other people, obviously outside of this podcast. I think this movie, which is a almost entirely black cast,
yes,
is I think the importance of this movie. The fact that it exists, and not only exists, but has thrived and broken all sorts of records, and is being seen the world over, not just in the United States, but all over the world, as this major blockbuster and Hollywood hit. the importance of that far, far, far outweighs how good, bad, average, what have you, this movie is. I actually think that the fact that this was an entirely black cast, just about a black director, and to have that represented as what is ultimately going to be one of the highest grossing movies of all time, I actually think this film is a legitimate historical moment for our society and culture in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually don't think that, like, I think that a lot of people are, maybe some people think I'm exaggerating, but I legitimately think this is kind of I think this movie is going to be a turning point. It might not be tomorrow, but I think over the next years, we'll finally, I hope, move away from white male actors and them being, cast in important roles almost exclusively. It's been getting better over the years, but it's even like, it's hard for me to talk about this because I'm a white male, and I don't want that to get lost in how important this is. But I'm recognizing, like, I want diversity for our culture, and I think that the fact that you have people that, like, if someone asked me to name, like, for my race and gender, to name, like, name all the famous white male actors, just in general.
Sure.
I'd be like, well, there's 100. But if you ask someone else, name all the black male actors, blame all the black female actors, blame all the
Middle Eastern,
all the male Middle Eastern actors. I'm serious.
I'm serious. Like, even now, like, me just thinking of Middle Eastern superheroes, the only ones I can think of are villains. Talia al Ghul, which was the Middle Eastern super villain.
Yeah. And
then Black Adam, which is also a Middle Eastern super villain. I can't think of one.
Yeah, because those
superhero.
Characters were written by white men to act as antagonists to other white men characters. And this is just something that, like, but the fact that if you, for any of those other things, you could just, like, I'm going to name, like, I'm going to get like 5 or 6 for, like, all the, like, the A-list stars that fit that race and gender. That's insane. It is absolutely insane, and it's like awful. I like it. The fact that this is, man, like, I hope that this just changes the game forever. It's proven that, like, this is something that it doesn't matter, like, because, like, and it's not just race, because in this movie you have, I actually think this is, we're gonna look back in 5 years and say, holy crap, the cast for Black Panther is completely insane, because I actually legitimately think it is. Obviously Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, but Michael B. Jordan, Denaya, oh my gosh, I always butcher her name, Guerrera, which is the one of the, I can't remember any of the names of the characters in the movie, but she plays, like, Michonne on The Walking Dead. Daniel Kaluuya, Angela Bassett, Forrest Whitaker, and then newcomers who actually I haven't really seen any of these 3 in prior movies, but Lupita Nyong'o, Latita Wright, and Winston Duke. And then, of course, there are 2 white male actors in this movie. Andy Serkis, who I actually think is one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood, and then Martin Freeman, who could not have been less inspired by his role or his acting in this movie. I just could have completely done without him, but that's something else. This is, like, I know I keep repeating myself, but, like, the importance of this movie to where you have young black men or young black women or women in general to say, I could be that. I want to be Black Panther. I want to be this black superhero for Halloween. I don't think it's hard for us to understand, but a lot of white people and white men to understand how important that is, because you don't have this we don't have a problem with, I don't have a problem with representation.
No, I agree, but I've never, like, I've heard people say, I want to be Superman when I grow up. I've heard African American people say that. I've heard Middle Eastern people say, hey, I want to be Superman. I want to be Wolverine. I want to be so and so. But honestly, think about it now. I don't think I've ever heard a white male, female, or white female, or anybody say they wanted to be a superhero that wasn't white. Like, I never heard someone say, I want to be Black Panther. That was
because there's so much white male representation that it's like,
absolutely.
Of course,
absolutely.
It's like you look at this character and you're like, I can be this. This looks like me. This looks like me. I can be this. And now and obviously this character has existed in the comic book world for a long time, but movies are an entirely different game because you reach an infinite audience.
Yes,
and the fact that now, one of the ultimately, which is going to want to be one of the highest grossing movies in the history of ever, has an all black cast is amazing. I mean, I think this is, like I said, I legitimately think this is going to be a historical moment for filmmaking in our culture, and I hope that this turns, and this is now in 10 years. I think I would be naive to say it would be 2 or 3 years, but I hope in 10 years we can look back and say, this changed the game, and now non-white men and women, especially non-white women, have the ability to be as represented as white men and women are in film. Okay, now that I'm done with that part, I think the movie was just okay overall. And I don't want. I think people are having difficulty separating the cultural importance from the quality of the film. The film is good. It's a very good movie. I thought it was very very good. I think most Marvel movies are very good, but I think this is in the upper tier of Marvel movies. It was a very good movie. It was visually beautiful to look at. It's probably one of the most amazing like physically looking movies.
Yeah. I mean, the fight scenes were amazing. I get that. The action scenes were great. I enjoyed all that, but again, I'm on the same page as you. I think it was very predictable.
Yes, absolutely.
And it was it's very cookie cutter. Like, the bad guy was kind of obvious. Like if you honestly thought Andy was going to be the main villain,
Andy Serkis's character.
You were wrong. Yeah. You're wrong. Like, and it played out very much like that. Like, you obviously knew Black Panther was going to fall over the waterfall, or he's going to lose the fight. He's going to lose the fight, and then he's going to lose the king status. But they couldn't find his body. Oh, wonder where the body went. Okay, it's going to be revived. Like, I don't know. It was just.
It was like you said. It was cookie cutter. There was never a scene where I was confused about what was going to happen in the scene. Never a one. Now that doesn't mean that the scenes weren't good, because I actually think there were a lot of good scenes. Like, even despite not being surprised, that didn't necessarily make the movie worse. I mean, it's like, I think it.
I agree.
I think the story they were telling, it only ends one way, and you have to take a lot of the same turns to get there. So I get that, but like, a lot of the scenes individually are great, and like I said, I think this cast is, holy crap! Like, I'm outrageously impressed with this cast.
No, I expected this ending. I mean, like, everything. Again, this was a good movie. This is what I expect to see when I go see a superhero movie. Like, I'm not expecting anything crazy and, a twist ending. But, like, everything was super expected. Like, it would have been cool if the Black Panther, stopped everybody else except the main villain. Like, maybe the female warriors or the female protagonists stopped him instead. That would have been different, and that would have been like, okay, wow, this is different, this is unique, and I don't think that would take away from the story.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually one of my favorite things is in Wakanda. They don't care about gender. It's irrelevant. It's never even an issue that came up. Like, they never addressed people having to do with gender at all. ever,
Never, no.
ever, which is fantastic. And I think that's like, I don't know, it's an easy thing to not notice because they don't bring it up. But like if you look at it after the fact,
you notice it one time though. Once the Black Panther loses his king status, the females have to run away because they assume they're going to die because they're the females. She's the queen, but it doesn't matter. She's probably going to die. Like that was one part. Like I felt like kind of like oh, come on.
I don't think that had to do with gender. I think that was because that was the person that he was in love with and his sister. I think if it would have been the person that he was in love with and it was a man and it was his brother, I think it would have potentially been similar. So I don't actually think that had to do with gender. I mean,
maybe not.
Most of the
that's the only one that made me question. But anyways, otherwise it was great.
But I do like Marvel has a bad habit of doing two things that I really don't like, and they did both of them in this movie. They kill off all their good villains. There's only a couple that are still around. But most of their villains, they actually just kill off in the movies, and they actually had two really good villains, Eric Killmonger and Ulysses Claw, that were killed off in this movie. And it's just like, man, like I understand the villains ultimately got to lose. That's how superhero movies work. But like, you've cast these insane actors in these roles, and they were so good. I actually think Michael B. Jordan was Michael B. Jordan's a great actor. And I think he was actually kind of uneven in this movie. I think he had scenes where he completely stole them, and scenes where his character's motivations were kind of uneven with how he was acting. That being said, I don't think it was an easy role for him to play. But Andy Serkis, I was also super impressed with. I love Andy Serkis. He's fantastic, and he's just like.
I mean, that was the best character I thought.
I think so too. I think so too. Ulysses Claw, he did. I cannot. He's one of those, like, that was one of those castings where I literally cannot imagine a single other human being playing that role other than him.
Fair enough.
And that's like when I know it's like, okay, no, this is perfect. But they do that, and they love to run the good guy and the bad guy are basically the same person in a different suit. They literally did it in this one. Like, literally. At least it was kind of played into the story, but they've done this like 4 or 5 other times. They did it in Iron Man 1. They did it in Iron Man 2. They did it in Ant-Man. They did it in The Incredible Hulk. They did it in Doctor Strange. They've now done it in Black Panther. Like, where you literally... And those are just the ones where it's like almost an exact... Like, even... Like, you're evenly matched because you're the same character. You're the same thing. You have the same technology. You have all the same powers. You have all the same weapons. The good guy always wins, even though he usually gets beat up for most of the time, and then he gets lucky for 1 second and wins.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, exactly what happens in this movie, too. But it was... I don't know. Those are gripes, and I think they're legitimate, because that is, again... This is something that is more of an issue with Marvel movies than it is with this movie in particular. Because of all of those, it actually made the most sense how I set it up here. And I really liked, like, Eric Killmonger as a character was the most interesting character. Like, Andy Serkis, I felt like, did the best job in his role. But Eric Killmonger was a super interesting character because he's a villain. He's like a Magneto-type villain. Like, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he's also not wrong with anything he's saying. So it's hard to root against him because it's like you're kind of an asshole, but you're also not wrong. I just don't like how you're going about what you're trying to do. And I thought that was good because it wasn't like you were just rooting for the good guy. Like, you're rooting for the good guy, but you wanted him to like reform the bad guy, not kill him. It just had to come to that. Because nothing that Eric Killmonger was saying, especially considering the life that he lived when he was left in Oakland, was wrong.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. That was I think that was my favorite scene, is when he comes back to Wakanda and he enters the throne room and they're like, who is this guy? And he's like, ask me who I am.
Yeah.
Ask me who I am.
Oh yeah, and he waits. Yeah.
God, it was such a great scene. Like that's like, man.
I thought that was a worse scene than if you've watched Breaking Bad, where he's like, say my name. Say my name.
It's different though. It's a
little different.
I usually think it's way different, because it's like,
okay.
That was a great scene because all of the other characters, especially like Chadwick Boseman, who's a really great actor without speaking, like he doesn't need to, like his just body language is great. But it's like every character, there's like this tension, and they did such a good job filming that scene where there's like this tension, because it's like everyone's like, don't ask him. Nobody ask him who he is. It's going to be bad. He wants us to ask him. Don't do it. And then, of course, they ask the guy, stands up, and he's like, what is your name? And then he says, and then starts speaking. And then he starts speaking in Wakandan. And then they're like, poop. I knew this was going to be bad.
Yeah, basically.
I really loved Winston Duke's character, which was the kind of the king of like the tiger people, like in the snow.
Yes, I did
that
too.
Was freaking great.
He was also
fantastic.
Great. Yeah, I love how he played his character at the end too.
Yeah, he was
basically. It showed that he wasn't like a villain or a bad guy. Like he just wanted to be. He had strong opinions, but when it came down to it, he was like,
we're on the same team.
She basically, huh?
He's like, yeah, he's like, I want to do things differently, but we're ultimately on the same team.
Yes, she literally gave him the power to be the Black Panther. And he was like, he's like, no, we're on the same team. Here, I'll show you. It was crazy. It was great. It was great. I love that. That was awesome.
Yeah, there's so many great characters.
Yeah,
there's a lot of great characters in this movie.
Yeah, the movie was great. I think the movie was good, but I do think overall it was overhyped.
It's like on an individual basis, like a lot of the characters, the acting was fantastic.
I agree.
A lot of the scenes were great. It looked beautiful, but it's like from a plot. Like basically, if you're like writing down the plot, it's like, man, this is just every other superhero movie, every other like first superhero movie.
Yeah, but like you said, the cast is just insane. The cast is absolutely insane here.
It's just, man. I mean, it's like when you have like on your casting list, if you're like going down for importance and you're like Angela Bassett, Andy Serkis, Forrest Whitaker are like 6, 7, and 8 number important, like important for cast. You're like you're probably doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ollie, any other thoughts on Black Panther? I would recommend this movie. We also forgot to say spoilers, but honestly, we didn't really spoil anything, and I don't even know if this movie can be spoiled. We'll get Director Choi to edit a spoiler warning in at the beginning, but if you felt like you were spoiled, you weren't really spoiled. You can probably go see the movie, and I
don't think we gave away a lot of the. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we gave away much that you
couldn't expect from a superhero movie anyways.
Or if you literally watch the first 15 minutes of the movie that you're not going to figure out.
Yeah.
If you're smart enough to listen to this podcast, you're smart enough to figure out everything.
Yeah, well, you learned about Mastermind's acquisition. So your IQ is already like through the roof.
That's right. Not
208.
Not maybe the combined 305 IQ that we have, but okay. Ollie, anything else on Black Panther?
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, awesome. Me too. In that case, we're going to take a break and wrap up when we come back. What are you doing? I'm doing Dratini farming. I'm going to catch a lot of Dratinis on Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I wasn't doing Dratini farming. Then I realized that, again, I'm not going to GP this weekend, Memphis, because it's Lily's birthday. Now, I didn't tell you the time. The times for her birthday are from 2 to 4. And the Dratini event is 2 to 5. So I will have approximately 30 minutes after cleaning up and basically getting in the car.
That's so brutal.
I'm definitely gonna. I do have a Pogo Plus thing, a little thing. I'll have that and just be trying to.
You're gonna need it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get lucky and catch a shiny one.
That would be awesome. I hope you do.
Me too. I just want one.
Yeah, man, that's brutal. Well, my girlfriend Meredith and I have planned our entire Saturday around the ability for us to play Pokemon Go for 180 straight minutes from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday.
Nice.
And we are totally going to do that. But that's my plan. We're also going to go see the movie that we're going to talk about next week, which is going to be Game Night. It's a comedy. So we're going to see that at some point this weekend, and that's what we're going to be. That's what we have scheduled to talk about next week as our pop culture segment. So if you want to join the conversation, you can see that movie over the next week. That's probably not a spoilerable movie either. It's just it's a fun comedy, but it's kind of game related, so we kind of wanted to do it. Ollie, anything else that you're doing other than a child's birthday party?
That is it. I think Sunday I'm just gonna be relaxing, no tournaments. I think that's it.
Okay,
that's all I'm doing.
Awesome. Ollie, where can people find you?
You can find me at twitter.com/Ali Aintrazi or twitch.tv/Ali Aintrazi. And my articles, again, come out every Friday at gatheringmagic.com. You will, if you like the hour deck, it'll be up there by the time you're listening to this podcast. So that's where you can find me. And what about you, Parnell? Where can people find you?
You can find
your lovely demon face.
You can find me on Twitter at jparnell1. You can also find me on StarCityGames.com and YouTube. 11 a.m. every Wednesday. I'm the host of the Commander Versus series. We're wrapping up Season 10. I am going to be playing a deck in the next couple weeks that I have been working on with one of our Agent of Bolus producers, Josh Lyons. I'm really, really excited. I'm not going to spoil the theme yet. Josh obviously knows the theme, but we've been working on a sweet deck, and I don't want to exactly guarantee victory, but I'm pretty close to guaranteeing victory. If you want to contact the show or follow the show, you can follow us on Thinktwice MTG on Twitter, and you can email us directly, thinktwicemtg@gmail.com. You can find the show on SoundCloud. You can find the show on iTunes. You can find the show on YouTube. We'd love for you to like our tracks or podcast or video wherever you are. If you want to leave a comment or leave a review, especially if you're on iTunes, that is always appreciated very, very much. You can also, in addition to sharing the show, which we would definitely love for you to do, we want as many earballs and eyeballs as we can, you can support the show on patreon.com/thinktwicemtg. We have a lot of different support tiers. One of the support tiers, which is our Disciple of Bolus tier, is where Ollie has been leaving his Ollie journal entries. So if you want to see all of the latest brews or updates from Ollie, that is the tier that you want to be following. The $3 tier, which is the Agent of Erebos tier. If you want to see weekly Commander decks from me and updates on that stuff, that's the tier you'll be following. And anything above that, we have all sorts of different stuff that you can get. We have tokens of Ollie and myself on the way. We have playmats that we just received, and we're going to be mailing those out within the next probably the next couple weeks at this point. And a lot of other stuff. That's definitely if you want to support support the show, please go to patreon.com/thinktwicemtg. We try to make sure you can get out what you give. That's kind of all I can say. And we do have a lot of new Patreon supporters this week. Are you ready, Ali?
Oh, I'm ready.
I'm going to try to give all of them equal time.
Okay.
All right, we have so many. This is the biggest influx of Patreon supporters we've ever had in a single week. So I want to give thanks to Andrew W., Paul F., Jeff P., John M., Lawrence W., Luca G., Yori Z., Devin B., Santiago J., Timothy S., Nathan T., David T., Christopher R., Nathan B., and Daniel C. Thank you guys so much for your support. Even if some of you are just here for the first time listening because you wanted to get some of Ollie's sweet decks, stick around. We'll make it worth. We'll make it worth your while.
Hopefully we have already. If we haven't, just give us a little more time.
Yeah, we like I said, we will certainly try to make it worth your while.
Yeah, and I also want to say thank you very much for supporting. You guys are seriously the MVPs, and you're what helps podcast a lot, keeps it alive, keeps it up.
You certainly do. We're getting very close to fulfilling some of the reward tiers. Obviously, we just got the playmats printed. We're working on the tokens. We're pretty close on that. We're getting close on doing a vodcast. We are as soon as that goes up, we owe you guys a Twitch Ask Us Anything deep analysis segment. We owe you one from February, and if we don't do it in February and it doesn't look like we're going to, we'll make sure we're not going to lose it. We'll do like 2 in March or something like that to make sure that we make up for that. Anything you guys have earned. We want to give special thanks to our graphic designer Amber West and our director and producer John Che, and of course our Agent of Bolus producers Josh Lyons, Daniel Hunt, and Gordon Russell. Thank you guys all very much. And Ollie, I love you. Thank you for being the best co-host that I could ever ask for in the whole wide world.
Dang. I love you too, Parnell. The bromance is real, and you are the best co-host a shape-shifting token, Ollie token could ask for.
Thanks. Well, in my black demon heart, I appreciate that. We love you guys very much too, and we will talk to you next week.